Yes, I do live in California. Dr. Wegley, it's that other part of the North American division that ordains women. My wife was commissioned. She's not a ship, but she was commissioned. And now she's ordained. And no matter how you feel about it, that's reality. And some people who don't like that say, wait, isn't she female? She has been all her life. If she's not, then we got other issues that I'm married to, right? We'll let that one go. Church, who sees it? Who sees it? Who sees what's going on? If you are here next Sabbath, you're not going to see the church, are you? But you're here this Sabbath and you see it. But next Sabbath, you won't see it here because it's not happening here next Sabbath. It'll happen at your local congregation. Last Sabbath, I was in a small town in Costa Rica on a mission trip with Maranatha, a place that probably most of you have not seen and maybe will never see, and I don't think I'll ever see it again myself. Tortuguero. We had to get in a boat and go for about an hour by boat to get to this little village. And there in this village was a young adult and his wife who had come there and had done an evangelistic series. 9 people were baptized. He went back to the village where he lived and tried to commute each Sabbath with this new fledgling congregation. But he couldn't afford the boat trip every week. So now what? What are you going to do? You've got ideas. He decided, I'm going to have to move there. Well, what about your wife? Yeah, she's going to move too. Well, what about your job? The Lord will have to provide. So he moved there and got a job for 4.5 months. And said, well, Lord, what are you going to do after that? Well, 4.5 months became 4.5 years. Why did he move there? Ministry. The job will take care of itself. And now he's in charge of recycling for the whole town. And we worshiped in their church. Now, a lot of times when you take a look at church, what you see is not the whole story, is it? I've heard people say, you would not believe what happened in my church. And they tell me what they saw. And I think, oh dear. Is that the whole story? I believe they saw it, but is it the whole story? A lot of times it's easy to get part of the story, one perspective. Several years ago, I was on another mission trip in the country of Venezuela. At that time, the currency, the bolivar, 500 bolivars could be bought with $1 US. I had about 150 volunteers there. So when you go to buy a loaf of bread for, let's say, $2, that would be 1,000 bolivars. And the biggest note they had was 100 bolivars. Got it, okay. The biggest note they had was 100 bolivars. So if I'm going to go and buy a loaf of bread, I have to take 10 $100 bills. You feel kind of rich. But I was buying for 150 people. So now I have to buy 30 loaves of bread. I'm paying $30,000 just for bread. So Maranatha sent thousands of dollars there for this group, and I would get $2,000 at a time. Do the math, $2,000 at exchange rate of 500. Where's the treasurer? I was getting delivered to me $1 million at a time, 1 million bolivars, okay? And because 100 was the biggest, the stack was about like this. And they would bring it in these big bags and hand it to me. They couldn't give me everything at once because I'd have to have a trailer, and it's just not safe to take a trailer of money around with you, you know? So that's how we did it. This particular Maranatha project, it's called Multiple Group Project. We're the Sordo sisters. There they are. We were together last year in Panama on the same kind of multiple group. What it is, it's groups that are too small to do a mission trip on their own. So Maranatha takes all these small groups, puts them into one, and they say, Steve, you go and get them all together. So my job is to try to make all these small groups one big group and still have their individual identity at the same time. So here we are in Venezuela building this school, and each group wants to have their extra project. Like one of them came to me and said, now, I brought an extra $250. Is there something that our little group can do just special? So I found something. Oh, you can do a new sign for the school. Yeah, we're doing that. And another person, I brought 125. What can we do? Well, there's a church over here, and when it rains, it comes down and it gets all muddy, and everybody tracks them. Can we just lay a little bit of a sidewalk for them? Okay, that's what your little group's going to do in addition to the school. And we found this lady here that's going blind. She's a tailor. She sews for a living. And by going blind, she's going to lose her source of income. But she could have surgery, and it only costs $75, and we don't have it. Can we do the surgery and help this lady? And so everyone was having their little project that they were doing. Oh, I went to this one house, and they're sleeping on dirt floors. If we just get some cement and put a cement floor for them, yes, and so we do this. And the word was out. The rich Americans are here. And so people started coming out of the woodwork, finding me, saying, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this. Do you have $100 for this? And I had it. I would call it compassion fatigue. I don't want to hear any more begging, okay? Just get out of my face. I've had it. And lo and behold, this little dirty man came walking up to me and started speaking to me in Spanish. Now, take a look at me. When you see me, two things come to mind. Number one, obviously you're a basketball player. And number two, I can tell you speak Spanish. I don't speak Spanish at all. I know like 5 or 10 words. So I don't know what he said to me, but this is what I heard. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Dinero. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Dinero. I've had it with the dinero. Now, there's a person who works for Maranatha right there in the country. He's bilingual. He does a lot of things to help me do what I'm doing. And so it's my turn to turn to him and say, tell this guy to get lost, okay? But the bilingual guy is on the cell phone making arrangements for our group, and he's not getting off the cell phone, and what do I do? And so, okay, I'm going to take care of this myself. Now, you know that people can understand more words in another language than they can speak, right? So I had to be careful what I said to him because he might understand what I was saying, and I didn't want him to understand what I was going to say in exasperation. So I spoke fast, because if you speak fast, it's hard to understand anybody, right? I don't know my exact words, but here was the message, basically. Oh, because you're here and I'm an American, you think I'm just giving you money? It's not what happened, though. No, I can give you money. I can give you money for you, so it doesn't matter. You can just get lost. I'm tired of seeing you. Just get out of my face. Okay, goodbye. Thanks. And he looked at me, and he said, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da, dinero. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da, dinero. I said, oh, I understand. If you can ask anything, I'm going to change my mind. Well, you understand, I'm a father, so my daughters always ask me one thing over and over again. I always tell them no at the same time, so it doesn't matter. You can say it. I'm not going to say no. It's going to be no every time, so go ahead and ask, but I'm not going to say anything. It's going to be no, and you're going to give me a minute. Forget it, okay? Just get out of here. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da, dinero. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da, dinero. The guy doesn't get it. Fortunately, Manuel was finally off the phone. So I said, Manuel, this dirty guy here is coming and asking for another handout. I've tried to communicate to him, no more handouts. In a nice way. Tell him to get out of here. Okay? I don't want to see him again. Okay, Steve, chill out. I'll take care of it. So he pulled the guy aside and started speaking to him in Spanish. The guy spoke back to him, and he spoke back, and they had this dialogue. And I thought, how long does it take to tell a person to get out of here? And finally, Manuel came back to me, and he said, this guy has money to give to you from Maranatha. He is doing the $2,000 delivery to you. And you're telling him to get out of here? My perception was wrong. I went off of what I saw, but what I saw was wrong. And I said, oh, yes, I'm the person. Give me the money. It was translated, and he didn't use words, he used motions. Why wouldn't he give me the money? So we had to call his boss, who I know. I talked to the boss talked to him. And I only saw and heard one side of the conversation. See? 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 And he handed the phone back to Manuel, gave me a dirty look, and walked away. Came back with this big bag, walked right up to me, and handed it to Manuel. Did he get my message? But he didn't speak English. What do you see? What do you perceive? Do you ever get it wrong? Who sees your church? And the answer is, well, God does. He's not going to make the misperception. You see, and so do others. So do others. But how do we see? Last night we looked at the book of 1 Corinthians. If we stay with this second book and move on to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, here's my paraphrase of a couple of verses from 1 Corinthians 13. It goes like this. Right now, we don't see things clearly. It's like looking underwater without a mask. Or trying to do your hair without a mirror. Or looking in a room with light so dim you have to guess what you're actually seeing. How well do you do? Is what you think you see the way things really are? One day we will be able to see things clearly, the way God sees things right now. Until that time comes, your most important way to deal with the uncertainty is to love. So we're going to try this out. Who sees the church? God, you, and others. What we're going to do right now is we're going to just focus on you and others. We're not going to worry about what God sees. I think he knows what he's doing. So what about our perception? And what about the other people's perception? What do they see when they look at your church? Okay, we're going to try this out. Ready for mayhem? Doesn't matter, here it comes. If you're in the first row, I need you to stand. If you're in the second row, I need you to sit. If you're in the third row, I need you to stand. If you're in the fourth row, I need you to sit. If you're in the fifth row, I need you to stand. If you're in the sixth row, stay seated. Okay, if you're standing, I need you to turn around. Turn around to the next row behind you, and I need you to team up with somebody in that row. Team up so the person in the front is facing the front, and the person behind them turns their chair around so you're sitting back to back. If there's nobody with you, just form a twosome with one of you facing forward and the other one facing back. Groups of two, one facing forward, one facing back. Your chairs move. So you can move your chairs so one chair is facing forward and the other one is back to back with it facing back. One person facing forward, the other person you're back to back, back to back. The one facing forward is in front, the one facing the back row is in back. You're sitting back to back. Yes, you've got it. You've got it. You've got it. The person in front is facing forward. The person in back is facing the back wall. You're back to back. Back to back. If you do not have a partner, just get up and go and find somebody and ask them to sit back to back with you. Back to back. All right, here's what we're going to do. We have a simple piece of paper for you, a small card, and a pen. Each person gets one, both the person facing forward and the person facing backwards. But the person who's going to use theirs first is the one who is facing backwards, facing the back wall. And what we're going to do is this. I am going to show you something on the screen just for like 10 seconds. And then after that, the person who is not looking at the screen is going to have to write down what the person who saw the screen observed. So you're going to use words to describe what you saw. I'm going to ask for the person not facing the front to not look. All right? You're going to go off of what somebody else sees. Everybody will need one piece of paper and one pen because we're going to take turns doing this. It's a small piece of paper, just a 4x6 index card. If you do not have a card and a pen, raise your hand. If you do not have a card and pen, keep it up and somebody will come to you. People are passing those out right now. Right now we're going to be doing it with the person whose back is to the front, but after a while we're going to change roles and the person in front will get their chance to write on their card. You guys all have pens here? Here comes the paper. Anybody else need a pen or paper? Raise your hand. It's coming to you over there. Looks like we're all covered on that side, left side. If you are facing the front right now, we're going to call you person A. A is an apple. If you're facing the back, we're going to call you person B. B is in bell. Okay, so person A is going to be the eyes. Person B is going to be the hand that writes what the eyes see. What the eyes see. So let me give these instructions. I'm going to show you on the screen for just 10 seconds something that you need to take in with your eyes. Person A. Person B, you're not looking. After 10 seconds, person A, I'm going to give you just 30 seconds to describe what you saw. Person B, you cannot ask any questions. You are mute. You can listen, but you cannot speak. So the one with the eyes is also the one with the mouth. The one without the eyes has ears and a hand to right. So person A, are you ready for your 10-second observation? What do you see? And go. Okay, you have 30 seconds. Go. Person A, you cannot look at what they're writing. You cannot look at their work. Person A, you cannot look at their work. And time, that's it. Oh. Person B, show person A your work now. Show them your work. How'd you do? All right. Person A, if you think that person B did a good job, stand up. If not, just stay seated. I'm only asking person A. Okay. All right. Very good. You may sit down. A second question. Again, this is for person A only. If you think that person B did not do a very good job, you go ahead and stand up. All right, you may be seated. Now we have a question for person B. Person B, if you think that your partner did a good job describing what they saw, stand up. You haven't seen. All right, you may be seated. And one other question for person B. If your person A needs better eyesight or better communication skills, stand up. Person B, if you think they... All right, well, let's show you what it actually looked like, okay? This is what they were trying to describe. Why didn't you say so? Okay, we're going to give you another chance. Keep a hold of your paper and switch seats. A and B, switch seats. Person A, you have your own card, correct, and your own pen to write with. Person B, you're going to use your paper, not this time, but we're going to do one more round for you. Right now, person B, you are the eyes and the mouth. Person A, you are the ears and the hands. I'm going to show you something again. And again, the person who is looking can use words, but you cannot look over your shoulder to see how they're doing. Right away. Okay, furthermore, person A who is watching, again, you are mute, you cannot ask questions, but we're going to make this a little bit different. Instead of giving you 10 seconds to look, I'm going to give you 15 seconds to look. You've got it. It's going to be harder. And you can start talking right away. Okay? I will give you 15 seconds to observe it, another 30 seconds after we take it off the screen, so that's a total of 45 seconds. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? Well, ready or not, here it comes. 15 seconds and go. You have 30 seconds more. 30 seconds more. And time. Okay, person A, show person B what you wrote. Compare it with the person next to you. Compare it with the person next to you. You are hearing the same thing being described. Did you draw the same thing? All right. A question for just person A. You have not seen the original. You have not seen it with your own eyes yet. You have heard it. You may have been eavesdropping on someone else's description too. Anybody do that? Yeah, okay. And you've been able to compare with other A's who are writing the same thing. Without having seen it yourself, how many of you think that you have a pretty good drawing of what it is? Can I see yours? Okay, you can't see it very well. Here it is. It's not the top one. That's the do-over is down here. Someone else who thinks they have a good one. Anybody over on this side? Somebody else over on this side. Do you think you have your good one? All right. Okay, it's very similar in that you both scribbled it out and started over. Do those look the same? Well, let's just look at the original. Why do we look at the second generation? Are you ready to see the original one? Here it is. There's another way of saying this. It goes like this. Da 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 dinero. Right? You're simply saying what you see. Why don't they get it? What is wrong with those people? And those people are going, why don't they explain it better? They said, do a square, no, a rectangle. But how big and where on the page and how thick the line? And why didn't you give more detail? Well, some people talk, but they don't listen. So we're going to try this again. And this time, you can ask questions. There can be dialogue. So switch places again. Person A, you're going to watch. Person B, use the back side. Okay, person A, you're facing the front this time, right? I will give you 15 seconds to see it, and then an additional 30 seconds without seeing it. I will give you a warning. With dialogue, it takes more time. But I'm not giving you more time than the last person had. You still have only 45 seconds. So if person B has 25 questions, you're not going to say much of anything. So try to work as efficiently as you can. 15 seconds of watching and an additional 30 seconds. You can start talking as soon as you want. Are you ready? And go. Time! Oh, raise your hand if you needed more time. Who needed? Yes, you need more time. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me, I may be jumping ahead of you, but I'm going to do that anyway. This reminds me of what happens when Seventh-day Adventists go to church. Church comes to an end and people say, no, I wanted more time. I wanted to hear more. I wanted to share more. You've cut us too short. Isn't that what happens at your church? People go, I don't want to leave. I want to just... Go ahead and take a look. How did your partner do? Do you even remember what the picture looked like? If you're person A and you forgot what the picture looked like, raise your hand. Oh my goodness, so you're communicating, you don't even know what you're communicating. Could that ever happen at church? Okay, here it is. All right, switch places one more time. Switch places one more time. All right, we're going to do it the same way. Person B, you get to look for 15 seconds. I don't know if you remember, but on our last time doing this, person A wished they could have seen it longer. They kind of forgot what they were talking about. So soak it in. 15 seconds to see it, another 30 seconds to add to that if you would like. A total of 45 seconds. Everybody wanted more time. Here goes. And there it is. Thirty seconds. Time. Go ahead and show them what you did. Show them what you did. All right, take your chairs and turn them around so you face each other. Turn your chairs so you now face each other. Instead of back to back, you're now knee to knee. Okay, face your partner and sit down. Oh, I didn't know you were my partner. Oh, okay. In a moment, let me have your attention, please. In a moment, I'm going to show you the picture, what it actually looked like. But then I'm going to ask you to transition. After I show you the picture and you say, why did you do that? Then I'm going to ask you to do this. Transition from the physical, the objective, what you can see, to the spiritual. That is, what is it in this activity that happens on a spiritual level? What happens at your church? I'll give you a hint, okay? One of the possibilities might be things like the people who speak about God at our church are not giving a very accurate picture, and so what people see is not the real thing. Or I see so little of Jesus that I don't have much to tell anybody else. Or I don't get to ask any questions, and so all I get is a one-way discussion, and if I could just ask a couple of questions, I would have a better idea what they're talking about. You understand what I'm talking about? So I want you to think in those terms, and I'm only going to give you 2 minutes to discuss it, all right? But you want to see what the original was. So that was the original, okay? All right. You have 2 minutes to talk with your partner about spiritual ramifications from this. What does this mean spiritually? 2 minutes. Go ahead with your partner. And time. Please stay with your partner, but crane your neck this direction for a moment, okay? You're going to do something else with your partner, so I want you still with your partner. We're going to try something else. You know, it's possible, who sees it? Who sees it? Maybe we can see better without our eyes. Without our eyes. I just had a phone call this week saying, you're going to Guyana in June on another mission trip. We have 2 blind people that want to go and help you with construction. And my immediate response was, what help would blind people be? Wait. I have heard that people who lose one of their senses are more attuned with the rest of their senses. So maybe the blind people would actually help those who can see. Please send the blind people so the rest of us can see. So we're going to try it here. We're going to try it with eyes closed. What? Eyes closed? What are we going to do? Well, see if you recognize this. We're going to taste and see that the Lord is good. Okay. Let me explain how we're going to do this, okay? If I can still have your attention, please. You can see that we're divided into kind of 6 sections across here. And at the front of the room, in front of each section, is a person with a collection of Jelly Bellies, 20 different flavors. So I'm going to come over here to Steve Carlson and take a look at his. Oh, dear. Okay, so it's red. So I take it, and because it's red, I know right away that it is popcorn. No, root beer. No, cherry. It's not cherry. Cinnamon. So what we're going to do is this. Person A, you're going to go first. When I tell you, when I signal you, I want you to come to the front and select 2. There's a key here that shows on the back side of the, shows you what they are. So come and pick 2. I'll let you know that when you feed them to your partner, if you give them licorice first, the second one is going to taste like licorice too, no matter what. But you're going to feed your partner one at a time, and partner, your eyes need to be closed. You need to guess the flavor without seeing the color. Understand? So person A, come and select 2. Go back and feed your partner one at a time and see how they do. This is one way of doing communion service. You can feed your partner as soon as you have the 2. You can go ahead and feed your partner one at a time. They've got a glut. I'm going to ask that you take your chairs and turn around and face the front. And hosts in the front, if you would take an empty chair and just set it where you were, we're going to feed some more a little bit later. But just find an empty chair somewhere and put your goods at the front. Go ahead and turn your chairs so that you're facing the front, please. Stay with your partner, but turn your chairs so you're all facing the front. Here's what we're going to do. Because of the shortness of time, we're going to let you do the reverse roll after the final here, okay? So you can do it afterwards, because some of you want to get your partner back. So that's why we're going to set these up for you to do it in reverse after the service here. This can be your hors d'oeuvre before lunch. Well, we have to do a grading on this. For those of you who tasted to see that the Lord was good, raise your hand if you got both of them correct. Both of them. Wow. Wow. About 5 or 6. Okay, raise your hand if you got one of them correct. Okay, maybe a fourth of you. And raise your hand if you got both wrong. Okay. If you got both wrong, that means you need more practice, right? Yeah. So what we will do is, after the service, send your partner up, let them reverse the roll and try it again, and then after that, just come help yourself to them, okay? Let me direct your attention to the screen. We didn't do much better on the Jelly Bellies than we did on the graphic arts, did we? So I'm going to 1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 9, a paraphrase. Goes like this. When God's people want to find out what God's message is for them, would you like that? Do you want to know God's message? They look for someone who is called a seer, someone who can see. Because a seer can see what God's message is. That person is called a prophet. And I have a question for you as Seventh-day Adventists. Are you part of a non-profit organization? Because if you are not getting any messages from the Lord. Where are the seers? I want to go on record that I endorse the prophetic ministry of Ellen G. White, who died 102 years ago. And so now my question is, has God had any message in the last 102 years? Because our prophet is dead, and we do not believe that a dead prophet is alive. We don't believe in the immortality of the soul. So does God have anything more to say? I'm not saying that what Ellen White wrote is not applicable today. It is. But I'm asking, does God have anything more to say? If you believe the Bible, and if you are an Adventist believing that Jesus is coming back, then the Bible in both the Old Testament and the New Testament say, in the last days, your old men will dream dreams, your young men will see visions, on your sons and daughters I will pour out my Spirit. If you are an Adventist and you believe you're living in the last days, you would expect a lot more seers than what we have. And so I'm asking, where are the prophets? Which one of you? How many of you? Oh, wait, you're not old enough, are you? How old was Samuel when he got his first message from the Lord? How old do you have to be? What degree do you have to have for God to speak to you? Don't play that stupid game. A prophet is one who has a message from God. If you have a message from God, speak it. I asked God to be a prophet, and then I read the book of Jeremiah. And I said, never mind, I don't want to be a prophet. Because the message God gives you may not be a message that people want to hear. And they may turn on the prophet because of the message God has them to deliver. Someone who has a message from God. What about a priest? A priest is one who connects God with people and people with God. Can you be a priest? I hear about young adults who have left the church, and then they give birth, and the little one is the priest who brings them back to church and connects them with God. How old do you have to be? How talented do you have to be? You just have to be willing. So, here's my challenge for you this morning. Which one are you? Are you a prophet or are you a priest? If you're a prophet, you are receiving messages from God and passing them on. If you're a priest, you are connecting people to God and God to people. Let's try this with our eyes closed. Lord Jesus, what do you want from us? What do you have for us? What message do you have? Right now, we are listening. Do you have a message for someone here to share? What is it? For whom is it? Lord, who do we need to connect with you? Who do we need to take you to? Lord, let our imagination go wild, and maybe we be empowered by your Spirit to be prophet or priest as you decide. In Jesus' name, amen.